This is Board with Life news for September 23rd. Today we're going to talk about a new Ticket to Ride board, Ticket to Ride Netherlands. We're going to talk about a 25th anniversary reprinting of Hero Quest, maybe? Well, not maybe we're going to talk about it. We're definitely going to talk about it, but maybe it happens. And the Kickstarter for Sengoku by Mike Elliott. Hey guys, I'm Chris, and this is Board with Life news. So let's get right into it. Ticket to Ride, they're releasing a new board, and this is the fourth in their map collection series, and it's for the Netherlands. Ticket to Ride is, as most of you I'm sure know, a very widely played, very popular game, kind of on the same level as Catan and Carcassonne as those games that in the early 2000s-ishes, that's as far from a word as you can make, but kind of started the whole Euro game and all that stuff moving over into the US, and was a part of the big boom in the board game industry. And they have tons and tons of expansions, and this is a new one. It's board expansions, so you need Ticket to Ride or Ticket to Ride Europe to play it. And what it adds is nearly every route is a double route, which means there's 2 tracks on it, so there's kind of 2 ways to use it. And it adds bridge tolls, which means if you build on the first route, you have to pay a bridge toll to the bank. And if you build on the second route, if you're the first person, everybody has to pay a bridge toll to you. And then the coins are going to come into play in scoring the game at the end. So if that sounds fun, if you like Ticket to Ride, absolutely get it. If you don't like Ticket to Ride, of course don't get it. Duh, that would be stupid. Don't buy games you don't like. There's plenty of good games. Okay, now on to exciting and bizarre news, kind of. A Spanish company, GameZone, has announced that they're going to release in 2014 a 25th anniversary reprint of the game Hero Quest. Now, for those of you that don't know, Hero Quest was a game that came out in 1989, and it was Milton Bradley's sort of mass appeal version of Dungeons & Dragons, or their response to the popularity of Dungeons & Dragons. It kind of welcomed a whole generation of people into dungeon crawling games and role-playing games as kids, so it has a very kind of like legendary nostalgic appeal to it. And if you haven't ever played it, I think it's mainly for nostalgia. Like, I think Descent kind of scratches the same itch with a little bit more depth and stuff like that. But it is definitely a game that people loved as children and want to play again with their kids or whatever. It went out of print, and people have been requesting reprints since it went out of print. But there's legal trademark disputes with like Hasbro and Games Workshop and all this stuff, so they've never been able to reprint it. So now it goes for tons of money on eBay. So the Spanish company GameZone has said that they have the rights to produce and distribute this game in Spain, but not the rights anywhere else. So if you want it, you're going to have to import it. But they said that the instruction booklets are going to come in multiple languages, which I presume English will be included in those languages. And so, yeah, it's almost too good to believe, but we might have a new edition of Hero Quest coming, so that would be really cool. And now, Kickstarter Corner time. In this week's Kickstarter Corner, we're going to look at the card game Sengoku by Mike Elliott. Mike Elliott is a pretty popular designer. He designed Thunderstone, he worked on Quarriors, so he's very established in the world of board games. And it's also, Sengoku is going to be released from Game Salute, and they have their Game Salute guarantee. So they've done tons of successful Kickstarters, so it's a pretty sure bet, safe Kickstarter to fund. It is a 2 to 5 player game that plays in about 30 minutes. It's a game of hand management and set collection. It's like a modified version of poker, basically. But it's set in a Japanese mythos. It's got really gorgeous artwork, kind of like this flowy line watercolor style that I really love. And it is $35 on Kickstarter right now, so if you want that, hop on it, grab it. Cool. All right, that's the news for this week. First off, thank you guys so much for submitting your questions. Make sure to keep submitting them this week. I'm gonna put all of them in a file, so if I didn't answer them last week, I might get to them or ask new questions, and we'll do all that. I have a question for you real quick. Would you guys be interested if Donald and I did a segment where we sat down and answered questions, some of the deeper questions that have longer answers, in like 5 to 10 minute long kind of discussion thing? Because that may be something that we add if you would be into it. Now, if you wouldn't be into it, let us know, and we won't do it, and we'll do something else. That'll be great. But yeah, let me know in the comments or tweet at us or Facebook, any of that, if you'd be interested in that. This week, the question that I picked is by Cal Ashton, and he submitted it via YouTube. And his question was, what as of yet untapped property would you like to see made into a board game? The thing that immediately popped into my mind was Shadow of the Colossus. It was just such a gorgeous game. It's one of my favorites of all time, but I have no idea how you make that a board game. It would almost have to be a solo game, or maybe a 2-player game where somebody's playing the Colossus, but for that kind of like sense of loneliness and isolation, and I feel like you'd have to have really gorgeous miniatures for the scale. I don't know. So I also picked kind of a different one because I have no idea what that game would be, and it's not technically, I mean, it's been tapped before, but it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And in case you didn't notice from my rant that I went on in episode 5 of Board of Life the series, I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I actually have this awful game that I used to play a lot as a kid that has the worst, it has like this dexterity dice mechanic teeter-totter thing. It is an awful game. But Donald and I were playing Mice and Mystics recently, and we were like, man, if you kind of like reskinned this to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and as like a dungeon crawler for kids but also adults, where you're like in the sewers, like encountering foot soldiers and stuff like that, and then you have like the flip side of the tiles was like above ground, that would be a lot of fun. So that would be great. I'm sure that they are making plenty of money in other avenues and probably have no interest in making a deep board game, but yeah, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles I think would be really cool. Okay, see you guys next week. Make sure to submit questions.